Woohoo! Hey, great to see everybody here. Welcome, of course, to Hex Token channel. PulseX live results. So we're going to check that out. So stay tuned for all that. We're going to look at yesterday's results as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, 1 billion sacrificed. Amazing. We're going to look at those results too. So welcome everybody. Well, let's just check the audio's up and running. It looks good to me. Now I tried to put a poll in, but I was having some technical issues there on YouTube, so I had to let that go. Let's get straight into it, folks. It's got a couple of comments in the chat there. We've got Rune Skies in the house. Hey, buddy. Sorry not being around, mate. Big up for your consistency. Love it. Hey, big shout out to you, Ryan Skies. And of course, Rune Skies is everywhere. It gets everywhere, so it's great. Marco's in the house. Woo! Hey, that's just crazy. Woo! I love it. Brownie's in the house. Awesome. When I pick up the phone to see a Hex Token live stream about to start, let's go. Very, very cool. I love the timing there, Brownie. And nice one. We've got Taffrin's in the house. Let's go. Yeah, I love it. A major milestone today, 1 billion US dollars. We're going to look at the breakdown of that, of course, on the live show. And Javier's in the house. Hey, Javier, good to see you. And Neeson's in the house. Hey, Neeson, good to see you. Nesian, I should say. Should say it right, shouldn't I? Nesian Nation. So great to see you all in the chat there, folks. Here is the results. We're on PulseX.com. Isn't this amazing? 932.7. Let's refresh this. Get the latest and greatest. Let's do that. So 933.5, 933.5. So we're going to remember that. Now, obviously, if you want to do a PulseX sacrifice, go to pulsex.info. The link's in the video description. Just follow the instructions. You'll be fine. Most people are sacrificing to this ETH address, OX075, DDC7. You can do that on Ethereum or any of these Ethereum compatible chains. You can also send stuff to Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and stuff like that, and tag your ETH address onto those too. So just follow the instructions if you're doing those ones there. Very, very cool. Let's get on to Pulse leads. PulseX leads, man, we're ramping it up big time. Let's get into this. We're going to update the results. So a big change today is that PulseX lead site now includes Binance Smart Chain sacrifices. There's that part there, very important. Specifically Ether, BNB, and the rest of tokens listed as well. So cool. All right, so there we are, 973.6. We're even a bit higher than we were on there because we've got obviously we've got the BSC, BNB in there as well. So very, very cool. Great results. In fact, let's have a look at the $1 billion numbers. Let's get straight to that. Then we'll come back and review the live results and the results for the previous day. Let's get into that. So here we are, 932. So we're just going to end up 933.5. We're going to update this 933.5. And of course, we're going to put in the total amount as well, 973.6, 973.6. So we're looking good. We're looking at 1 billion and a 2 million.7 at the moment. And of course, there's also little other little chains and stuff floating around. But let's have a look at the results. So this is the date, 19th of January. The ETH chain 933.5 million. We can see that number here, 933.5. The Binance BSC BNB is the difference, 4.40 between the total there. We've got the total there. Very, very cool. Then on top of that, we've got AVAX. This is from the 18th now. All these ones from the 18th. And this is from Richard Hart's update on Twitter. So we've got 2.3 million on AVAX, Polygon Matic 3 million, Bitcoin 15 million, XRP 3 million, Litecoin 1.5, ADA 1.5, Monero 1.5. And then, of course, we've got the updates from the 16th. These are much smaller amounts, so unlikely to change too much in the time frame of 16th. We've got 200,000, 300,000, and 800,000 with T-Fuel, Theta, and TRX, BCH, and Dogecoin, respectively. And that gives us a grand total of 1 billion, 2 million, and 700,000. So, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That is pretty awesome. And obviously, we're just going to go up from here. We've still got a long way to go, and so we're going to check that out. 58, 59 days is a PulseX sacrifice period. The rate's still very good for picking up PulseX. If you are bullish about PulseX, the rate's still pretty good. We're going to check all that out too. So very, very nice. We've got Tefrin in the house. Hey, woo! Nice one, Tefrin. Property reviews in the house. Great show. I appreciate that. Big thumbs up to you. And love the live stream, my friend, says Hookshot. Hey, Hookshot, good to see you. And Mike says, Hex Token, thanks for today's stream. You're an amazing contributor. Hey, Mike, appreciate that. Right back at you. Unbelievable. 1 billion sacrifice and not a peep about it in the mainstream media. No, but I will do a press release to CNBC again and see where they pick that up. Property Review says, can I sacrifice from Smart Chain? You can, Property Review. We can talk about that later. Good to see you in the chat, by the way. All right, so those are the results at the moment. Let's get into PulseX and do the breakdown as usual. These are live results. We're going to look at those first, and then yesterday's close results from about 3 hours ago. So we've still got the top 7 there at over 10 million. But now that we have BSC, Binance Smart Chain in here as well, the positions and the numbers have moved around. So we're starting afresh in some ways. We're going to scroll all the way down to see the top million now. This is obviously going to be different. 1,034,000. So actually similar for that amount. But some of the bigger wallets that have sacrifices on Binance Smart Chain have now moved position. So we're going to, before we go into the other wallets on the top 100, we're going to have a look at the Magic Carpet Ride pool team. Obviously, they're on Telegram, YouTube. We're going to have a look at them and see where they lie at the moment. So they were around about 27 yesterday, E807. They've got their Binance Smart Chain balances. That's what they had in there now. And so they're actually still sitting at pretty much at the same spot, because some of the other addresses must have had balances sitting on there too. And of course, that's where they ended up almost 3.7 million US dollars. That's amazing. That pool has been very successful on that. They're also going to be doing the liquid loan sacrifice as well. No doubt they're going to probably do the haunted strategy, get involved for that. That's going to be interesting, that though, getting to possibly do the haunted strategy for the liquid loans. We'll see whether they play out on that. That'd be pretty interesting. It's always hard to coordinate that when you're looking to buy, do loans with collateral and then buy on the market in a kind of unison. It's an interesting aspect there. Nice. All right. So those are the top 100. Obviously, the wallets have changed. We had 79,500 or something like that yesterday. Now with the BSC, we've now jumped to 109. So that's like what's that? About 30,000 wallets. So that's increased there. Obviously, that's a huge change. Let's have a look at the top 500 wallets. We're going to check this out as well. 1 billion, man. Can you believe it? I think that's just such a cool total. That is like a major raise in crypto. That'd be pretty epic just in fiat land as well. So pretty outstanding stuff. Let's have a look at the top 500. So you need 201,600 now in this. Obviously, it was over 200 yesterday, about 200, 500. 200,500 or something like that yesterday. Let's have a look at the top of 1,000 wallets now. Obviously, there's a little bit different comparing it. Can't really compare it to yesterday. It's pretty close though. It's pretty close, actually, not too bad. But obviously some BSC balances in there, some as well. The smaller wallets, you wouldn't expect too much of this multiple platform. Either a lot of people, if they didn't want to do ETH fees, they probably would have transferred from Binance or Polygon somewhere. But the top $100,500 to get in the top 1,000 now. And finally, our last one, top 5,000 wallets. Let's check what that is at the moment. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom there. Hopefully, we won't have too much issue there. So $19,186 to get in the top 5,000. That's pretty impressive, you got to say. For top 5,000, man. Like I say, at the beginning, people probably thought maybe 7,000 might get you there in the top 5,000. Now it's actually 19, heading towards, I don't know if it's going to get to 20, but it's got plenty of days to do it. We'll see. The rate's still pretty good at the moment, so you think that most people would still be sacrificing if they're going to top up their sacrifice would be now. And also lift their volume multiplier by lifting the USD totals as well. So it's something we might do. Let's have a look at the total amounts, of course. Now we've got in orange, we've got BSC written on there, so that's new. Blue is Ethereum, of course. So now we've got a better ranking, actually, because BSC was pretty much second, as we saw on the actual sacrifices. Bitcoin's kind of third. BSC was around about 40 million. That was second, sorry. So with each chain being the big one there. So not bad. Let's have a look. So we've got almost $550 million in Hex, which is pretty cool. 219 million in ETH, 100 million. We hit 100 million on USDC. Now I did put that in the daily vid update for Hex, so if you want to check that out. So 100 million, we finally reached that. USDC 37.8 million, and BUSD is now number 5 there from the BSC. 15.4 million. That's pretty good, right? And as Richard said, there's probably in excess of 600 million in stable coins from Pulsechain and PulseX. And he also hinted that he says, oh, we maybe have too much money. We've got to maybe we'll be spending some. No expectations in 2022. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun in the next year and a half. It's going to be pretty cool to see all that sort of stuff happen. BNB is number 6, 13.2, USDC at 7 million, number 7. DAI at 5.4, Matic at 3.9, and Wrap Bitcoin at 3.3. Those wrap up the top 10, folks. Top 10. We can also see that the BSC is now number 13. What's that, number 19 at ETH on there, and they got Cake there as well. It's pretty good at number what's that, number 16. So Binance did pretty well in some of the leaderboards there, with BSD leading the pack compared to Ethereum sacrifices. So pretty nice as well. So pretty cool results there, folks. That is the results at the moment live. And of course, what's the big thing we want to point out? The 2,143 million hex has been sacrificed. That's really huge. And as we say, we estimate that might be something like 7.5% at the moment of the total supply. And that doesn't include the sacrifices from Pulsechain, which might take it up to, you know, something like 15 to 18%, somewhere at that mark. So pretty exciting off the circulating supply in the public. Not talking about the origin accounts, in the public, and that's all you really care about, is what the public's got. So now it's going to sacrifice stress. Expect that to behave pretty similar to the origin accounts, and all part of the same internal family pumpamentals features inside Hex Pulsechain and Pulse Hex. So looking forward to that. Pretty awesome, man. Fantastic results. So that's the results at the moment. Let's go check out the day results. I think it's day 21. So we're going to check that out too. And let's get into that. So yeah, Hex has dropped to 56.45% from 59% yesterday because of the BSC included now in the totals. Let's have a look at the results for the day. This is sacrifice per day, and of course we finished day 21 about 3 hours ago, and that's $3,670. Sorry, $3,670,000. 3,000. That's not too much, really. $3,670,000 for day 21. Pretty cool. And then, of course, at the moment we're currently running at 386. So I'm not sure whether these charts actually exclude the BSC on this, so it's a little bit vague. Might be something to ask the developer there. But definitely the totals. Let's have a look at the totals. It's the best way of doing it at the moment. So the totals look like they've all been adjusted, actually. Let's have a look here. So it looks like the totals have actually been adjusted for the BSC. So maybe they're all just updated there. It would be the case. So let's have a look back there, 8 million. So anyway, definitely a fall off in the results from the previous day. So maybe maybe the sacrifice price is starting to hit a little bit. Also, the markets pulled back yesterday. Maybe people are a little bit more skittish. Who knows? All sorts of factors like that. The Hex price is falling as well. So that may explain a couple of the variables that have impacted the sacrifice today, because it's still at 5%, but it's still relatively good rate. But maybe the 155 was too much of an impact. So there we are. All right, so very cool. That's the results for day 21. We're in day 22 at the moment. So let's have a look at what the sacrifice rate is at the moment. Sacrifice rate will increase by 5% in 20 hours and 30 minutes. And of course, the current rate for today, day 22, is 10,000 points for $1.68. So $1.68 for 10,000 points is what you'll pay. And of course, we can see here on the sacrifice curve that the rate is just going to keep climbing. And at the moment, I still think this is in the cheap zone. You know, if you think that PulseX is going to make the big pump, big X's like many of us do, then you know this looks still pretty good rate, especially if you're topping up the sacrifice. Certainly, it looks very good. People come in later on, and we'll be saying they'll still be sacrificing, saying, "Oh, I'm late. I want to sacrifice. I want to pick some up." So you know, I think there's still a very good position at the moment. And as I say, we've got a long way to go till the 25th of February, and also the long way to go till the 21st at the end of the volume multiplier. Because remember, there's two parts. There's the base points, 10,000 points per $1.63, wasn't it? Yeah, $1.63, and of course the volume multiplier based on how much US dollar you sacrifice versus everybody else. So that gives you a multiplier. So the base amount times the multiplier is your total amount of PulseX that you'll get back in Pulsechain when it launches. Obviously, you're sacrificing with the expectation of nothing, no work from the others. You're basically, it's kind of odd, right? It's a bit of a thing, but you're sacrificing for freedom of association in this case. So cool. So those are the results there. Let's get into some of the chat before we move on to the next topic. Hot Clock says, I missed the Pulsechain sacrifice. Hopefully, hoping we can swap some PulseX for Pulsechain before it bridges. Yeah, that's the expectation there. Shot and Richard talked about that many times. So yeah, you're onto the one there. Young Kim says, you think the top 20% is good enough to become a millionaire? Hey, based on Hex, people became millionaires with hundreds of dollars. So it could be quite easily with when they had a 1,000,000% gain. That's quite possible, quite easily. That's why I always say, even if you're sacrificing a couple $100, that could turn into something really good. So you just never know your luck, whether 1,000x, 10,000x, 1,000,000%, whatever. Pretty cool. Now we saw that on the. I don't know if I was going to pull that chart up, the log scale chart for Hex. Did 1,000,000% basically when it reached, if you argued, that a spike price of 56 cents. Otherwise, it was still up way higher, over 900,000% gain. So $100 times that is a pretty big deal. On 1,000,000%, that get you to $1 million. Jeff Jean says, I just want to go to sleep and wake when all three projects 6.5 million X. Yeah, that's right, Jeff. It'd be quite cool, wouldn't it, just to do that? But the journey is a good part of the ride there, Jeff. And Brandon says, so I'm guessing at the end that with sacrifice address tokens will be copied to Pulsechain too. Woohoo! That's correct. You are right. So everything that's on the ETH chain, at least the ETH chain side, not the BSC, but the ETH chain side, you might find that a lot of that stuff on the BSC, the other chains, will be sold and moved to the ETH chain. So that will probably be happening, Brownie. So everything else on the other chains would arguably go on to the ETH chain, and then those get copied over. That's the smart way, and it's of course sacrifice address is pretty smart, right? So expect that to happen. Very, very cool. Let me just get rid of this one little troll here. Hide that one. Hide user in this channel. All right, we'll get rid of that one. Very cool. All right, so looking good, folks. So that's a really good observation, Brownie. A lot of those non-ETH chains should be sold, probably moved to a stable coin, then bridged over to the ETH chain, then copied on the Pulsechain airdrop, and then sacrifice address has even more power. But they'll probably go to stable coins. Also, they may be bridged over too. A lot of that sacrifice stuff may be bridged over to support pools. We'll see what the sacrifice address does with all that their buying power. Maybe support the pools, support the bridge pools, the PulseX pools. You swap Vision 2 or the P-Uni. Do some marketing. Who knows what I expect a bit of maybe that all will happen, particularly by the teaser that Richard gave about there's so much money. Look, we've got over $600 million. Maybe we'll go and spend some this year or something like that, hinting at potentially that sort of stuff could play out. So we'll see what happens. I expect that to happen actually, but we'll see. There is no expectations from the work of others. Remember, it's the Howey test. The Howey test. That Hex is not a security. These other ones are not a security through the sacrifice. So interesting stuff. All right. Yeah, let's jump over to that's the one. We hit $1 billion. That's pretty good news today. In fact, it's pretty terrific news. And of course, let's have a look at this, the PulseX sacrifice table. And of course, now we're up to day 22, and of course it's $1.63. If you were to get a multiplier, if you get at $1, you'd get 6,139 PulseX points. But of course, if you pay $1.63, you're gonna get 10,000. So just take that into account. So that's continuing to get worse for $1. Obviously, it started at 10,000, and of course, once the price, the sacrifice price started going up by 5% for the base points, it just you get less and less and less for $1, and now we're currently at 6,139 for $1, but $1.63 for 10,000 points, whichever way you want to look at it there. Obviously, if you've got a higher sacrifice, you're going to get a multiplier that's greater than 1, and therefore you've got a certain amount of period of time before you get less than 10,000 points for $1. Obviously, as we talked about in previous days, the Magic Carp Ride team somewhere up in here, 2.1, 2.2 to 2.1, somewhere in this mark, which means that they've got a few more days to go. Is probably the way they've got. They've probably got another 4 or 5 days to go before they. Once we get around about $2, that's when they'll start getting less than 10,000 points, because they're getting a volume multiplier of 2, which means that if they get 100 million PulseX points, they're going to get 200 million, with the multipliers. So very cool. So that's pretty much how that's working. So nice. And let's jump over to the Hex price. Check that out. Obviously, Hex price is selling off at the moment. We've had 3 days ago on the 17th, we had a low of 19.5 cents. And then today we've also had a low of 19.36 cents. 19.36 cents. This is on the Hex USD pair on version 3. So you can see that. But we've seen the main cause of this really has been specifically Hex OGs coming with long-term stakes, typically 700-day plus stakes. They've come out. They may have been worth $20,000 when they put them in there, give or take, and now they're worth 10, $50 million. They're worth a lot of money, a lot of millions. And so we're seeing some of those come out, and they are now some of them have been selling, which is great. That's actually great if you think about it. Obviously, in the short run, it hits the price, but in the longer term, it actually spreads that Hex out amongst a lot new people. Particularly when Pulsechain launches, there's going to be a lot of pent-up retail demand. People didn't want to buy on ETH chain because the fee's too high. Also, onboarding at that time when onboarding is going to be super cheap, super fast. You can tell someone, hey, jump on here. It's not going to cost you $150, even though you're going to invest $500. It's not going to cost you $150. It's going to cost you, a fraction of a penny. Something like that. So it's going to be so much easier from the retail virality, and that's where we want to go, retail virality. And of course, that's excluding the big whale stuff, the billionaires, the 100 millionaires, the Hex scale, the funding gym discussions with billionaires. It's excluding all that stuff, which is happening anyway. But also the staking, of course, going to be super cheap, super fast on the staking. So that's really important as well. So yeah, and I don't think ETH 2.0 is going to come and save the day. It may reduce some costs, but I just don't think it's going to deliver that. Meaning that Pulsechain should have an open road, in my view. Also, Vitalik's roadmap is got quite a long one. So yeah, it's got a lot of issues with it, and really Pulsechain is more like an ETH 2.5 or something like that. It really is ahead of the game there. So I think that's looking pretty good for Pulsechain, and I think it's going to wildfire spread. We're going to get that network effect very fast. Millions of users over in Ethereum. We're going to get a lot of those coming over. There's a no-brainer. It really is going to happen pretty fast. From month to month, you should see a really huge step up in adoption as more and more people find out and realize, hey, I can do everything on Ethereum, but I can do it better, cheaper, faster over on Pulsechain. It's going to happen pretty fast. Crypto spreads pretty fast when you're getting exactly the same stuff, but with all the cheap fees and stuff like that. So, and a lot of the projects that are dead on Ethereum will be able to come back alive on Pulsechain. A lot of the teams that may be resistant to do stuff on Pulsechain will realize, hey, actually, this thing's already valued up with the ones that have gone in already, and then they realize, actually, we can get our project going back up again. We can please our community, which we may have disappointed, and we can get that up and running on Pulsechain. So you can see the market's going to be taken off guard, and that's going to be really shocking to them. On top of that, of course, yield farm is going to come over and add a lot of value. All the yield farming, as I've said many times, from all the other chains will come over. Phantom, Atrium, you get it, you name it, they're all going to jump on, and Polygon, Matic, Quick, all of them going to come on to the place, because they were jumping to the next chain, right? That's what yield farm is doing. They're jumping to the next chain, the next hype. And of course, nothing's going to be as big as the AMM bot running the PulseX pools. And so they're going to be coming over in the droves, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, trying to get that yield farming stuff. So cool. And of course, the differences, of course, with PulseX is that the token's actually deflationary, unlike the other ones. And so the deflationary token from the start with the buy and burn is going to be pretty epic. The only thing, of course, is around the staking of the token. We'll see whether the DAO votes for an incentive to try and get some of that off. We do obviously know that a lot of the Hexkins will likely hold the token for a longer time. The burn and buy and burn is going to happen anyway, regardless of the fact that it's quite fluid compared to Pulse, which you can stake with a validator. Of course, that's all optional. But that's also deflationary. So all the tokenomics are superior. Some of the staking behavior is probably going to be the one issue. So that will give some selling pressure, especially for the plebs that just like to trade for those small X's. But the people that hold for longer term will get the bigger X's. Also, some of the bigger accounts are likely to come. If there's any big cheap prices, they'll come and buy all that stuff up and if they've got longer thinking mindsets, then they'll actually just increase their bags that way, and they're looking at the long game, seeing the buy and burn, the impact is pretty powerful. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see that play out as well. I do expect a lot of PulseX funds also potentially to trade into Pulse, so that's another trend I expect to see, not just at the beginning where people missed out on the Pulsechain sacrifice, but want to get in and pick up a lot of those that Pulse bags for the medium long-term game. It's going to be interesting to see that play out, especially until PulseX kind of settles down. I expect PulseX to go through more waves, more fluctuation waves, not because of the tokenomics, just because of the fact that the staking issue. But we'll see. That part of that may be sewn up by the nature of the hex skins and stuff like that, and that culture of playing the long game. It's going to be interesting, fun ride to see how that plays out. For sure. Rich has also got some more tokenomics and stuff to come out around the incentive token for PulseX, so we're looking forward to that as well. We should get that soon. He's hinted that in the recent live streams that we a good chance we could get that stuff soon, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he sets that up, because that's pretty important too. So we'll look forward to that. That's the DAO and the incentive token stuff. So nice. All right, so that's where we're at the moment, and of course at the moment this is quite a decent price to pick it up. Obviously, the cheaper hexes, the more you can pick up, and I think we might be in the last phase of that. I've got a nice little triangle set up here as we head towards the Pulsechain potential launch as early as March. Obviously, it might be late March, might be early April, but the earliest period at the moment I've got is early March. Obviously, that's about a week after the PulseX sacrifice. They may need more time than that, maybe need 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So we'll see. They've got to run the AMM bot on Pulsechain. We'll check that out on the roadmap, but that's the sort of stuff going on there at the moment. The other side, of course, is obviously we've got Hex OG stakes coming out, people that have become millionaires selling some of their stuff down, also sacrificing some of it, which is pretty cool too, to get off the market. But that's starting to slow down. We've got tons of people still that have still got quite a few big bags in liquid that are walking around, but they all can't settle down at once, right? And they all see the long game. They're all looking at the long game. They can see the long game as well. So, but it is definitely reduced. It's definitely reduced, and we can see that in the staking overview. So let's just jump over to I've changed this as the staking ladder, but it's for the next 11 months. So typically in a daily upvote videos, I look at the last 6 months, but this is the next 11 months. And I always point this out because this is changing, and this is actually very good for the fundamentals. For those, I'm not talking about tomorrow, I'm not talking about next week, I'm talking about in a longer time frames. This is hugely fundamental for Hex, and that means Hex on Pulse and on ETH. And of course that flows into Pulsechain, PulseX. But obviously this is looking super good. These are starting to break up. All the big candles that we used to see are pretty much gone. I mean, we've got this one here on the 5th of 2022. It's been here for a long time. But these short stakes here are starting to break up, starting to see less and less candles. We do have people with circulating supply stuff that we've talked about that. But this is all starting to break up. So this is one key component of the supply side. You got your staked, you got your circulating supply, and of course we've had 2.1 billion more sacrifice from the circulating supply off the market. Pretty cool, about 7.5% maybe, somewhere in there. And then of course that's just from PulseX, doesn't include Pulsechain. And then of course we've got the stake stuff, which is getting the short stuff, what we call the short stuff, that this rolls, people that make an income off it, that just keep rolling their OG stakes, and they're living off that stuff. They are also getting diluted by the share rate. Every time they stake, that share rate is going up. We just saw it go up 250 Hex the other day. That is just going up and up and up. So expect that just to keep climbing as well in this phase here, especially as some of the big ROIs come out from some of the XOGs. That really does push it up, or push it up that way. Got to make sure I get the right direction. So it's pretty exciting. So we're coming out there already. The number of total T shares has come down already. We're below 10.6 million, and it keeps that's just going to fall away over time. We will get some pushback with virality and retail, and some big once we get Hex scale and stuff like that, will help to push that number back up. But we're seeing that decline, which is pretty neat. So I reckon this here is, we're going to get some of this restaking further out, but into the future in the next 11 months. But you can see it's going to break up, and even some of the circulating supply will probably end up staking as well. We'll watch that as well. So and then we're going to have this duplicated, right, on the Pulsechain. So we're going to have 2 chains running. So it's going to be fascinating to see that play out too. But we have all this capital coming into the Pulsechain network, so we've got all that demand coming into there as well, while still having substantial demand on the ETH chain. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see that play out there as well. So yeah, that's what we've got coming out. We've got big gaps under this point up through March, April. So this is going to start to be transformative, and especially as time goes on. As we start getting into mid-2022 onwards and upwards after that, it's going to be fascinating to see that play out all into 2023. Pretty very cool. Don't forget, at the end of 2022, maybe early 2023, we've got the Highest of Stakes film documentary. So we're starting to really pull it up. I imagine that the social media platforms, the YouTubers, all the other social media platforms will be so much bigger. We already said that now Richard's passed 100,000 on YouTube. He's growing faster and faster every day. And I imagine that by the time Pulsechain launches, he's going to already be up super high, and he'll become once you get up to that sort of 300,000 mark plus, you really, to 250,000 subscribers, you really are quite a force on YouTube, especially in the crypto space. And I imagine he's going to explode. Can you imagine when Pulsechain goes live, he's just going to go through the roof. I can imagine him having 1 million plus subscribers. Not too long after that, it's really going to ramp up pretty fast. So that's going to actually feeds itself, right? Feeds the thing. Plus all the other YouTubers, other promoters, is going to explode as well with the Pulsechain going live. All the people are going to come in and mass adoption. It's going to be pretty exciting times, right? So most of this seems like no-brainer stuff now. It really is going to be super fun, folks. So we might have 150,000 people in the community. That's going to explode this year. It's going to be massive. And it's, like I said, it's going to take a lot of people off guard because they can't see it, right? They can't see it, but we can see it. We can see it happening. So it's pretty neat. So there we are, folks. That's what's coming out at the moment. So I think that's going to be bullish. I think this time is definitely a great time to pick up some Hex. Obviously, we don't know when the price is going to end. At the moment, I've got the price certainly heading back on the 18 to 19 cent range, which have already been there before. So that's the short-term support battle line. So we'll see where it comes down. I expect it actually to hit it. And that's our next support line, really. So let's see how we go. And this is obviously cheaper. You can buy Hex, the better, right? And you're also going to get a copy on the Pulsechain if you keep it before the hike block is going to be chosen. Rich has talked about that being around the mainnet time. So that's pretty give or take. So we'll see how he gamifies that, but it's going to be around that time. So there we are, pretty cool. All right, so let's jump over to let's jump over to, I just want to bring up the investing news. Obviously, I don't typically look at this, but I just want to pull this out, that the Dow Jones, this is starting to hemorrhage. The stock market's starting to really face some woes here. So it's up, down 543 points, 35,368 on the Dow Jones. So it's the industrial average there. And so that's a pretty big deal. And that's got, like, from memory, I think it's the top 30 industrials in that. So that's pretty impressive. The other thing that's happening also is oil. Oil is really starting to rocket. 88 bucks, 86 dollars, and a target is for $100 to come up. So that's really expensive for the economy. Obviously energy runs the economy, modern economy that is. So that's really not a great sign. And obviously the stock market's starting to rattle. Values starting to be knocked off and probably happen more and more frequency. And of course, inflation is rearing its ugly head, maybe 5.5% or so. And that many commentators, which I agree with, looking to say that could probably just get worse. And I expect that to happen too, as opposed to some of the what I call people that just living in la land that think it's going to go away. Keep saying it, and of course it keeps going up. So I just don't think that one there works very well. So that's pretty stuff to keep looking out for. The Treasury, of course, is got a announcement coming out next week around its rate hikes and stuff like that. I don't think they have a lot of room. All I see is the interest rate rises are reducing a monetary picture. Stuff like that is just going to hurt the economy even more, particularly the US economy, which really still is one of the major driving engines in the world. But that's also going to lift the US dollar, stuff like that. So I actually think it's quite a blunt instrument now, and I think they're really boxed in, and it's only going to do probably more damage. So we'll look out for that. It's going to be a bit of a crazy time there for sure. So I just want to put those things out at the moment. Just something to keep an eye out on, that big macro picture. So if crypto's sitting in here, and then you've got the big macro picture, you just got to keep those. Everything is interrelated, whether you like it or not. So just keep that and just keep a general lookout for that. It's probably the way I'd look at it. Let's jump over to the timeline for Pulsechain. and PulseX. So we're looking pretty good. Obviously, the Hexpo conference was on. I really did like that. I thought Mary Ellen did a fantastic job with that. That's just a sign of things to come. And I think 2022 is going to be that next level stuff by. I think you typically when you talk about buying on Uniswap, it goes up by the square of the price type thing. I think that is what's happening. Everything is starting to really get the exponential climb as well. When you've got people doing cool things like the Expo online, and then now they're going to do this Hexpo.Vegas, which is a physical meetup in Las Vegas, and it's already growing way bigger. I can't remember what last year was. I think was it 100 people, 150 maybe, and this one's looking at 600 people. So I could definitely see that in 2023, or even late towards end 2022, this could be $2,000-3,000 rave party. I mean, it could be just ginormous. So we'll see how that goes. That just seems like an enterprise in the making. So pretty cool. I think there's a few tickets left. Yeah, that's pretty amazing there. So a big shout out to Mary Ellen for that. The other thing, of course, we've got on the MVP on the Pulsechain Testnet 2.0, which is this yellow line here. We are moving along. So let's just do the old measure there. We're going to measure all the way through to we're up to 39 days. Yeah, 39. Yeah, 30, is that 39? Yeah, 38 days on the testnet so far. So 38 days on Pulsechain Testnet 2. So that's compared to 77 days on Pulsechain Testnet 1 back here. And so we're waiting for Pulsechain Testnet 3, which we do expect to be short. We just don't know how long that's going to be as well. So it could be 2 weeks, something like that. So we've just got sort of extended period here. We don't know how long this is going to keep going for either, but everything's going pretty well. Go.hex, Uniswap front end's pretty good. The bridge is on there, and apparently the bridge is going to be made public in a day or so. So that should be pretty imminent. We might have that definitely by the weekend, is my guess, if that's possible. So cool. Then of course PulseX as well is being tested on there, and then of course the AMM bot's going to run on Pulsechain Testnet 3, which is a big thing, and obviously the distributions for Pulsechain Sacrifice, and eventually after the 25th, PulseX as well, Sacrifice stuff. So looking pretty nice. The other thing that's due is also the DAO stuff around the DAO, potentially incentive tokens. So we're looking for that too. And Rich has talked about releasing some stuff about that soon when he's ready. So pretty cool. Obviously we've got the big billionaires, the big whales down here. Hex Scale, that's starting to move, and with the Kinetics team funding Jim Billionaire Liaison, doing his thing, going through Europe at the moment, talking to very wealthy people about I guess Hex and Pulsechain, and then unknown private investment vehicle as well that Richard talked about on the 10th of January. So definitely lots of stuff on here. I'm sure there's much more than this around as well. So, but this is very exciting. In addition to the whales that we've already got in the Pulsechain Hex ecosystem. So nice, and PulseX for that matter. So very cool stuff happening. And obviously both of these two things in the red, the PulseX Sacrifice and the Pulsechain, all leading up to the big day, mainnet, going to Pulsechain mainnet, and some sort of snapshot block, some block height on the Ethereum chain that would that's going to qualify you for the airdrop. So if you've got ERC20s, 721s, all that sort of stuff on each chain, all going to get copied over, and you'll get the biggest airdrop in history. And the AMM bot's going to run PulseX and harvest all the liquidity tokens, already going to create value out of nowhere. And then when the people can swap the ratios in the first day or two, and then of course we expect the bridge to open up, and we'll probably end up having multiple cross-chain bridges, as well as fiat gateways as well, which we've got up here, fiat gateways. So it's going to be pretty exciting, folks. That is just, I like to review that again. That's pretty much where we're at the moment. Of course, as we go into time, we've also got the Discord Syndic conference going to be doing with pro investors in the traditional market. So it's going to be trying to onboard them. Pretty cool. And of course, the number of the highest of stakes video. And I expect us to see more promos of that quality as well before that time by other people. So very cool. Let's jump over to the Hex stakes and quickly check that out. So I've got some Hex here, and of course I've got running these are running Hex on go.hex.com on Pulsechain, and of course they're just ticking away there. So we might look at end staking one of those tomorrow. I think we've got one day 780 maturing, so we'll end stake that tomorrow. But that's been a lot of fun. We're doing that the last couple of times on live stream, so very nice. Let's just get in some of the comments here. We're going to jump back to PulseX and go back to the leaderboard. And we're just going to do a refresh here, and now I'm getting some of the comments as well. So lots of stuff happening, folks, and I definitely think that the price for Hex is going to be it's going to have a nice little rally before the PulseX PulseChain PulseX launch there. So it's going to be fun. All right, so 973 million.7 on the ETH and Binance Smart Chain. Very, very cool. Let's go up to some of the comments here. I'm probably miles behind. We've got, let's have a look here. We've got Tefrin says, hook me up with a wrench Hex token. I'll take care of that troll. So Tefrin's in the house. Yeah, we might as well. Where's Tefrin? I've got to find Tefrin there. Let's have a look here. Gonna add there, so add moderator, bam, there we are, Tefrin. Well done, congratulations, welcome to the moderator there, Tefrin. And 16 is my entry, says Javier. Yeah, nice one. I think that's probably a good number, although I've argued the 89 cents. I don't know if it's going to go back to our previous low around 13 cents, 13.5, but we'll see, we'll see. That guy's in the house. Hey, that guy. What happens to Pulse if ETH 2.0 comes out first? Like I said, I don't think actually ETH is going to come out first, and I also don't think it's going to deliver. I think Pulsechain will be launched before that, and I don't see it's actually going to deliver on time or in the reduction in the fees that people are expecting. So if I'm going to go through the roadmap through Vitalik's roadmap in a separate video that he released. So I'm going to go through that. So I'll post that video soon. Pulse marketing team says, that guy, what happens if a meteor strikes first? Yeah, probably a bit more in that chance as well. Tefrin's got the rockets up. Hades is in the house. People think their 1,000 will turn into 1 million. If so, the top sacrifice 47 would make 100 billion with their volume multiplier realistic. Yes, it's realistic. 10 to 50x would be amazing. And I'm in that camp too, but it definitely has the possibility for people to hold. A lot of people won't make the big X's because they're going to sell. So that's probably the counter argument there, Hadley, as well. And a lot of the big whales, when they're that big, they don't end up selling that much. So if you look at the Hex God whale, he doesn't sell a lot of stuff because they're so rich anyway, right? You're worth 300 or 400 million. What are you going to do? Unless you're out to go buy some super yacht, you're not really going to sell a lot of stuff. The other side of it, of course, is you still need the economic energy to come in. And that's why I keep talking about these whales on this side and retail virality. So you add those two things together. That's how you get up to Bitcoin valuations, right? That's how that got there, and it took, was it 12 years to get there or whatever. So it does take some time, but the Hex and Pulsechain stuff all happening faster. Rich has designed it so it will happen faster, and that's the cool thing about it. But it still needs a lot of this big money to come in. I'm not deluded about that. Not just that is what's needed. As you go up in price, you need to get supply off and you need to get demand up. That's simple, and you need a lot more economic energy to move the price up in that regards. You can move the supply down and get the price up. That's what you got to do. But like I said, we've still got quite a few Hex OGs in liquid, and as we saw in the last couple of days, they can sell the market down, take out millions of dollars. So we do need the big money to come in to help us outdo those people and move up. Some of those people, of course, change their mind. They see that they let the price run, and or they let the price run that way, and then they take profits, like we saw last time when we had the up in here in this price area here. The people let the price run, right? They let the price run out there, and of course, took a couple of them that started selling down. Some of the Hex OGs in liquid. There's a lot of Hex OGs are staked. They're staked out. Their average stake is 6.12 years at the moment. 6.12 years at the moment. The highest so far, and so there are a lot of Hex OGs staked, but there's also the short-term players that have that short-term mindset. Some of them are staked for 2 years. I mean, that's good, right? 2 years is pretty good in crypto, so you can't blame them at all. I mean, they're taking profits. They did well, and obviously the market will move on from there. If we look at the log scale, of course, dollars are in the view. We can look at dollars. Dollars are in the view for this year, so definitely going to be fun. Roger Moses says, agreed, Hadley. I'm keeping it for real. Yeah, so it's good to keep it for real, 1050x, and that's what most people will trade out. They're going to trade out for 1050x, and they will miss the big X's. So they'll miss the 1000x. And we saw that in Hex. A lot of people traded out early on. Some people traded hundreds of millions of Hex, and they maybe got some good ETH for it. But they missed out on the big pump up, where they could. A lot of big ones that have made us sit back on Hex, and they just chip off a little bit. We see a lot of those rotating OG stakes rotating every 30 days, 45 days, that sort of stuff. So Pulse Marketing says, Hadley, the amount of inflation taking place is mind-boggling. I think we are seeing evidence of hyperinflation. Yeah, I think that's a real risk on the macro scale, particularly in the US, because the completely mismanaging the economy, making most of the problems happen. Pulse Marketing, so we get to those huge numbers, but a hot dog fight costs you 100,000. Yeah, that's right. And what said Roger says, I'd love to see a 10,000x though by 2030. Yeah, so like I say, the long time. What happens that even when you get that higher price, if you've got huge bags, you won't end up even selling a lot of that stuff, right? So even if the liquidity pools grow, so if they grow to 100 million, 200 million liquidity pools, and you're not going to see, you'll see a lot lower. A lot of those one of the big bag holders, they only need to sell a little bit. That's what you're going to see. So it'll be interesting to see that play out. Same thing, same experience in Bitcoin if you think about it. But the markets do have serious corrections, and Hex, Pulsechain, and all that will still have serious corrections, despite the fact that it's got the best tokenomics in crypto, for sure. Hot Dog, Pete's Cam says when BTC was at a penny, the same people would have told you there's no way to get to 10,000 US dollars. Pulsechain get to 25 cents within the year. Yeah. There's some huge upside for these. I mean, it does seem a no-brainer. You're getting a first system state copy of Ethereum. Think about that. That's pretty huge. You're getting better tokenomics. You're getting deflationary tokens. So you got the total supply of the tokens at the beginning. Then you're getting the buy and burns on both chains, and you're getting that happening. So you're getting the buy, your automatic burn on the Pulse chain, and then you're getting the actual buy and burns in the or the wording as you could get the buy and burns in the PulseX. So once again, I'm wanting to see a bit more information about the incentive. The only offset to the PulseX one is that there's no particular staking at this stage. So we'll see whether the DAO tries to vote in something with the incentive token. That really depends on the incentive token. So I'd like you a bit more information about that. So we'll wait and see. Roger Mo says that's better. Be a good hot dog. Yeah, so I mean, we could get hundreds of millions of dollars on that buy and burn for PulseX. On the upside, I think upwards of 400 or 500 million is not unbelievable on that. Particularly if it starts dominating all the yield farming and all the pools. So we'll see. I think it's pretty good. We've got a lot of selling. That's the only thing. Like I said, I think the Hexicans were pretty good holding, but you're going to get a lot of the plebs that come in. We're going to get tons of plebs. We'll see. We'll see how that happens to that. We're going to get a lot of people that missed out on buying PulseX through Sacrifice, so they're going to want to buy it on market. And especially when you think about, we're going to flood potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people coming in. I'm talking about 1 million, 1, 2 million, something like that, coming in through the bridge. They didn't get the PulseX and the Sacrifice, so they're all coming in. I want PulseX. So they're going to be buying. I want to get in the yield farm. I want to get this the best thing and things. So they're all going to come in, and so you got a whole ton of buyers coming in. That's probably going to be, the biggest catalyst actually for value as well. So pretty awesome. It's a master play. It's a master play by Richard for mass adoption. It really is. Watch his YouTube channel grow. It's going to grow insane. It's already growing fast. Since it hit 100,000, it's just growing really fast since then. I think it also impacts the algorithm, right? As you go up in the levels, it really does make a big play. Hadley says, agree, it would take hyperinflation to see those numbers. A pure marketing truth, that's true to beat. And Raphael says, hearing 100x to 2030 just pisses me off, says Raphael. And I don't think that's in the play at all. I think that's way too far off. Hadley says, Pete, calculate how much new money we have to buy PLS for that too. Well, you don't. It's not the way the markets work. The markets work on marginal price. That's what I'm saying. They don't work on the total value of the tokens there. It's marginal price. So it's the amount of supply you have versus the amount of demand you have and the willingness of the last buyer. That's how the prices work. So, and then the buying's at a square of the price in the Uniswap design. X plus Y equals K. So as soon as you change that around, it just has a massive impact. Not quite the same. Not the same. If no one sells, it could literally take 25 cents. That's right. That's kind of what I'm hinting at there. It could really go. Now, I don't know where it's going to go. I just know that everything is set up for the best fundamentals in crypto. That's all I know. And as you guys, many of you, you've done everything from hourglass DApps to high referral DApps. You've played all that yield farming. You've done all that stuff, the NFT trading. So you know what is good design and tokenomics. And I think it's outstanding. They're taking some of the best stuff. Roger Mo says ain't selling for a few years, and I think that's kind of the right mindset as well. Now, you can always take some crypto profits. Is probably a good play, but yeah, holding on. The people that sell early, they're not going to get the big X's. That's it. I mean, that's cool, and you'd be happy about that. If you're after the big X's, you're like, okay, well done, congratulations. You got a 5x, you got a 2x, or whatever they get. So cool. Pulsechain and PulseX is the same thing. No, they're different, Kevin. Pulsechain is like Ethereum's blockchain, and a PulseX is like Ethereum, like Uniswap on Ethereum, where you swap tokens. So that's what Pete says. Calculate how much new money would have had to buy Hex, then look at how many multipliers that went up, and also calculate how many Pulsechain coins will be staked and locked up. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting, Pete, is actually how much stuff will get locked up with the validators. We know that there's a certain big part of the market in crypto that does just like to find the next big shiny thing. So we're going to see how that plays out too. No one knows because it hasn't happened yet, right? So you got the other thing, of course, all this good stuff is all happening at once in one go over a couple of days. It's going to be, like I say, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. It really is going to be amazing. Raphael says, if you could have bought 3,000 worth of Shiba Inu in 2020, you could be a multi-billionaire by now. Well, I actually know people that have done that, Raphael, and that's I don't. It's the people have done that. So KC says, Pulsechain mainnet. Yeah, that's right. Mainnet. Yeah. Pete says most people will lock up their. Let me have a jump over. I'm on the wrong chart here. Apologize for that. Let's have a look at the Hex chart there. We're going to jump to the hourly on here, make it a bit more interesting as well. Maybe we'll move him to the 15 minutes. Let's do that. This is a 15-minute chart on there. And scroll that up. This is a 15-minute chart at the moment. So you can see the zig down. Nice to make a new high there. Most people will lock up their Pulsechain coins, so the circulating supply will be lower than expected, and it's deflationary. Yeah, and of course there's 25% of the fee goes to burn straight. So nice. Howdy says people may say market. Remember, there's going to be 33 validators you can stake with, and then they're rotating validators. So that should be some opportunity there. So if you want to get more volume, that's the way to get more volume safely. If you want to get it safely, otherwise you got to trade it, don't you, to try and get more, which is the risky part. Hadley says people say market cap doesn't matter, even Richard, but it does. Hex didn't start with 1 billion sacrifice, not a Bitcoin ETH. Yeah, I'm not quite in that camp. I know that people do, it does matter, but obviously market, you don't. Richard's point is you can't trade market cap, but it does matter in terms of what some people think is a good price ceiling. So that does have an impact, but the other side of it is that it can be, highly manipulated for each different project. So it is a little bit hard to compare, an apple with an orange or something like that. Kevin says Pulsechain and PulseX is the same. I think I answered that one. I'm going to do a PLX pair for LP. I think that's pretty good. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see that play out there. And Hadley says, so we need traded 1 billion to own a PulseX. How many out there left to push the price up? You'll be surprised. Obviously, with the biggest airdrop in history from Ethereum, you're going to get potentially hundreds, if not millions, of users coming over from there. Is the point? So I think it's going to be pretty cool. Pulsechain's saying that to Hadley, yeah. The sacrifice does not equal the market cap. So the best thing about the sacrifice is not only does it give stable coins to the sacrifice address, and Richard's hinted potentially no expectations, but potentially things may happen with that. They may end up supporting liquidity on the bridge or on the pools. They also may, who knows, maybe some marketing, who knows. But it's going to be interesting to see all that play out. Sacrifice doesn't equal market cap. Pulsechain will start at 0 market cap like BTC did. Yeah, so everything's starting at 0, but there will be ratios after the AMM bot runs. Hadley says, anyway, Pete, we will see soon enough. We will see. 100% around Raphael. Market cap is a vanity number. I've seen tokens with 2 million market cap with $20 liquid. That's right. So there's a problem with that. But in established tokens, market cap does have some impact, but it really doesn't. And crypto, there's so many cryptos are valued so much higher than fiat companies. So KC says the larger the sack, the harder the pump. In most senses too. I believe so too. And so it's a big thing. So a lot of people are sacrificing because they see the fact that we're going to get mass adoption over from Ethereum. We're going to get a mass adoption from all the other chains, the Ethereum compatible chains, other chains where big yield farming is going over. People see that. So that's why we've seen a bigger sacrifice, in my view, than Pulsechain. Plus, we also had a lot of people miss out on Pulsechain So there's a bit of that going on too. Hadley says we're talking X gains on our investment, not on the opening price. Yeah. So we know the price where it's starting. Any bets on date mainnet going live? Yeah, Roger, we've covered that actually. So the earliest date here that I've got is early March at the moment. So that's the earliest date. That's after the PulseX Sacrifice and possibly Pulsechain testnets 2 and 3. But of course, we did a poll on the channel. 53% think it's going to be in March sometime, in the whole month of March sometime. And then, of course, I think we had 18% was April, and then obviously fell off from there, May, June. So yeah, definitely in that time frame somewhere. Ultimately, it's going to be dependent on Richard when he's ready, but he's been very confident in his videos lately that everything, as you can see, the ticks, everything is going off pretty well, and he's been pretty upbeat in his videos, which is a good sign, rather than being under a lot of stress. He's shown a lot of upbeatness, so it's pretty positive. Rafa says probably 3 or 4 weeks after the PulseX Sacrifice ends. Yeah, so that would, if that's the case, that's going to be towards the end of March. So we'll see. Roger says, good guess. That's what I figured. And Taffrin says, nice. When hot dog, says Casey. No, you make me feel like going to like a fair or something, the Ferris wheels and getting a hot dog and chips and that. That's pretty cool. We don't have a lot of that here in New Zealand, but I know in the United States they have cool stuff like that. Pulse Lord says, good day, Hexkins. Hey, Pulse Lord, good to see you. And SKB in the house, love this Caesar hairstyle. Superman, yeah, that's crew. So obviously in New Zealand, there's certain limitations to what you can do now, given the regime that's running the place now. James says XRP helping US SEC Chairman Gary Gensler go after Ethereum as a security. Yeah, I bet so to get themselves off the hook. Yeah, if Ethereum lands up in courts like XRP, would this be good for Pulsechain? Well, the difference is Pulsechain's not a security. It's the way they're going to be running it because it's going to be airdropped. The total supply is going to be airdropped from the beginning. So it's set up differently, and it's the same under the Howey rule. So that's the same way. That's why we're doing a sacrifice. That's why the total supply is going to be at the beginning of the sacrifice. It's going to be airdropped for free for freedom of association. So it's going to be quite different from that point of view. So good luck to the SEC on that one. That's what I'd say. Hello. Hey, Roger Moses says, great show, man. Hey, Roger, appreciate that. Big shout out to you. And Francia's in the house. Hey, good to see you, Francia. Glad you could make it on this one. So nice. All right, so let's have a look at some of the highlights. How we're doing. 57 minutes. Pretty good today. Typically go for about an hour and 20. It's a pretty good period, I find. So here we are, some of the highlights. Let's refresh the Pulsechain. This is just the Ethereum numbers now. So 933.6 million on Ethereum, pretty nice. And we've got 19 hours, 46 minutes to go until 5% increase. Currently, the base points, the first lot, 10,000 points or PulseX per $1.63, and of course on top of that is the volume multiplier, which is based on how much USD you sacrifice. The base points times the multiplier will determine your total amount of PulseX that you get as an airdrop for free for sacrificing for freedom of association. So it's pretty cool, and you can see us moving up the sacrifice period there at the moment. So nice. Once the Pulsechain mainnet release, sacrifices will be able to access their free PLSX. So cool. Not a security. There we are. All right, let us jump over to the PulseX. If you want to sacrifice, pulsex.info is the place to go. Once again, not investment advice, but if you are so kind that you want to sacrifice for freedom of association, obviously then check out the link there. All links in the video description, so pulsex.info. And of course, let's go to Pulse Leads and do an update here as well. The numbers aren't changing as fast as they were, so that we don't typically have to refresh it too often, but it is pretty cool to see it go up. Now this PulseX Leads now includes Binance Smart Chain for those that missed it. So now we've got ETH and BSC in here, and of course you can see 973.76, so 973 million there, pretty nice. And of course you can see now what the BSC added, that BSD is now number 5. These have all been added in. BNB number 6, USDT on BSC is number 7, so pretty cool. And you can see all the BSC ones in orange, so versus the Ethereum in blue. And of course our favorite one is that Hex is about 550 million sacrificed, and that's a beautiful thing, taking all the Hex off the market to 2.1 million hex. Now, I don't have the latest Gunther, the accountant's update on the circulating supply, trying to get hold of that. But May last year, which is some time back now, it was around about 27.5 million billion, sorry, 27.5 billion was estimated in May last year to be in the circulating supply. I have seen a more recent number around 25, but I'm not sure when that spreadsheet was taken. So 27.5 billion. Since that time, of course, we've had the Pulsechain sacrifice that had something like maybe 3 billion, I think it was, sacrificed for that. And of course, we've also had stakes come out, all the big candle stakes that we were used to, big towering stakes all last year through July, August, and through October, November, December. And of course, a lot of that stuff's been eaten up as well with about 2 billion. I think there was about 6 billion increased in circulating supply. And then we've also had the sacrifice to about 2.1. So you can sort of see some of the big numbers there. And so I think we've had a pretty good chance, maybe 15-18% of stuff's been sacrificed through the Pulsechain and PulseX. So, but I'm going to try and get more firm numbers on those, but that's kind of indicative at the moment, which is pretty cool. And that means a lot of hex off the market now. You couldn't actually 550 million. You couldn't, trying to get that trade volume through. You stop in a period of time is a pretty big call. I think typically what we're doing. Some days we might do 10, 20 million in a day, depending on the day. Other days we do, 2, 4 million. So just depends on the day, but and whether we're going up through a big buy cycle or whatever sales cycle. So, but that's pretty cool results. And of course, that's going to be in the sacrifice address. That means it's going to be off on the Pulsechain as well. Sacrifice address will have that too. And of course, as we've talked about before, possibly a lot of the non-ETH coins probably be switched to a stable coin, maybe DAI, and maybe taken or something like that, and maybe taken over to Ethereum chain and get copied in the airdrop. So that's a really cool little insight there. I couldn't imagine any of that stuff staying on their own domestic chains. And of course, unless there was a particular purpose for that, maybe onboarding or something like that, or maybe a bridge, something like that, something like multi-chain bridge. But other than that, I think a lot of it will come over, and maybe a lot of that stuff that gets sacrificed will be used for PulseX pools. Maybe be used for the USD side of it, stablecoin side to strengthen the Pulsechain. Maybe it will be used for the actual bridge, one of the official bridge or whatever. Who knows? Maybe it would be used for marketing. There's no expectations for work of others, but we'll see. We'll see. Richard did say he had over 600 million in coins and stables, and maybe he felt like maybe he needs to go a bit of a spending this year. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I like those little teasers from Richard. It's quite nice. So right, so that's where we're at on that, and of course the total, we are in excess of 1 billion, which is a pretty big milestone. That's why we've got party time tonight. I know I'm not really blowing streamers or anything, but that is pretty much a party for that, so it's pretty exciting for sure. SKB says Hex was worth the wait. Pulsechain will be mind-blowing. I agree with that, SKB, and it's not too far away, is it? It's not too far away. Obviously, the first Pulsechain sacrifice was July. And of course, the announcement was way further than that. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Probably be delivered in earlier or similar time frame to Hex, which is like about a year delay. So it's patience. If you're waiting for patience, you'll be well rewarded. Brendan's in the house. Hey, Brenton, howdy. Hex Token, good to see you. And Alex is also, guess I'm late to the party. Woohoo! Party time, 1 billion. I mean, it's pretty exciting. And where will we land by the time we get to day 58, 59? On the 25th of February. We're on day 22 now. So what's that, about another 36 days? Let's see where we get to. Obviously, the sacrifice will likely decline. Then, of course, we expect the origin accounts to come in and do some magic there to help support. It's typically a pumpamental feature. So we'll look at that too. That's what most people are reasonably expecting with the behavior. And Brendan says, missed half the stream. I'll be rewatching. Hey, Brendan, nice one. Hey, it has been a pretty good stream. I mean, it's 1 billion sacrifice. We've covered a lot of nice topics, so it's been pretty good. E-Type's in the house. Nice. Hey, E-Type. So very cool. 1 billion. Can you believe it? So 923.5 on ETH, 40 million on the BSC, AVAX 2.3, Polygon Matic 3 million, Bitcoin 15 million. 3 million on XRP, LTC 1.5, ADA 1.5, Monero 1.5, Dodge 0.2, BSCH 0.3, and T-Fuel 0.8. You've got the respective dates. So those were the 16th balances. They're so small, they probably haven't changed too much, and most likely. And then, of course, 18th is these ones here, and that was only yesterday. And then, of course, the 19th is the current values right now live in the market, which we updated during the live stream. So looking pretty good, folks. 1 billion. There's the good numbers. I like to tally them up so we can visually see them rather than just say we hit a billion. This shows you that we have hit the billion. We're onwards and upwards. What are we going to get to? 1.2, 1.3. Maybe I'll put that in the poll tomorrow for the live stream. We'll put that in the poll. What people think, how high this will actually go. Obviously, we're going to have some diminishing returns as the sacrifice rate goes up. So as this rate goes up, we will have diminishing returns, as we might call it, or diminishing sacrifices is probably a better way of putting it. So very, very cool. Now the rate, of course, is currently day 22, so we're at $1.60 for 10,000 points. $1 would give you the equivalent of 6,139 PulseX points at $1, so that's kind of the equivalent there. That's only going to get increasingly worse. Like I said, I think at the moment it's still pretty good rate, relatively speaking, especially if you've already sacrificed a certain amount USD and you've got a multiplier, then it's certainly pretty good. So if you're doing today, you've got a multiplier here of 1.7. So if you sacrifice maybe 300 grand or something, you're still getting over 10,000 points per dollar, which is pretty cool, give or take. I mean, this hasn't been updated for a few days, but it's it's an indicative number. This first column is definitely the case, so very cool. So yeah, it's going to get continue to go down. By the time, let's see what we get when we get down 2,500. We will be down at 2,500 points per dollar. Will be on day 40. So that's still a while away. We're on day 22 now. It's 18 days from now. But it's going to cost $3.92 for 10,000 points at that stage. Which is, I mean, it's still relatively good if you think about it. It just depends on how many X's you think are going to happen, because it still looks pretty good from there. By day 54, $7.76, and you'll be able to get for $1 get 1,288 points, and of course then a flat rate after that. That's the last day of day 54 of the volume multiplier. Remember, there's a base points times the volume multiplier. So that's going to be flat. Then after that's just going to be flat 1.75. So you won't be in the volume multiplier anymore, and you may be better off just sacrificing in these last days if it is to your advantage, because after a while it's going to be better than these rates towards the end here. Anything that's in this red is probably, or anything at the bottom here is worse than this day in terms of a dollar. So cool. Price of Hex just struggling there, 20 cents. Is it going to hit the 18 to 19 cents range? It's kind of the support level. We'll see how that goes. Did have a little bit of a buy there, and that's pretty much it. Cool. We are breaking up the stakes, but we still have some decent players out there with a lot of liquid Hex to take that into account. But at some stage you'll probably get overselling in a big way. Obviously, and when I say a big way, meaning that we'll have more buyers than sellers. We'll see how that happens. Very, very cool. All right, we're down up to an hour and 7 minutes, so pretty good on that one. So I think that's probably close to where we'll be. Pulsechain staking, Hex staking on Pulsechain is looking super good, as we're talking about. Got lots of test stakes. These are all fake, of course, but got a lot of those stakes there already, stake history already. So I'm starting to actually look like a real Pulse Hexagon on the Pulsechain on the testnet, and it hasn't even gone live yet. So pretty nice. Remember, it's sample only there, just a test. But pretty cool. Tomorrow I'll end up staking this one up here. That'll be a bit of fun for sure, as well. So nice. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to be interesting to see how the X plays out. I don't expect it to get down to 13.5 cents like our last one. Maybe 18 cents, something like that. It could go to that if it keeps dribbling down here. We will see. And obviously T-shares are really good at the moment. If you pick up T-shares, they're really good. Obviously, the cheaper the Hex price, the cheaper it is, because the share rate's going up. Share rate's going up at the right. The Hex price going down. So the T-share rate's getting cheaper for you. But once the Hex price starts rising, with the share rate going up and to the right all the time, when that price starts rising up, the T-share rate's going to increase fast. The T-share price is going to increase fast, and we're going to bust past the 10K mark. There's going to be a day when the way that all the fundamentals are looking, the T-share will be worth like a Bitcoin price or something like that. It's going to be a pretty crazy day. But yeah, we're going to have competing there with the two chains. It's going to be interesting too. So we've got lots of things that we haven't seen before, but it's going to be a lot of fun to see that play out as well. So nice. All right, Brenton says, do you think whales are holding the price down so they can hold better multiplier? No, I don't think whales are really doing that at the moment. I see a lot of large Hex OG whales selling down, but a lot of that stuff's coming out of long-term stakes, 730 days. So I don't think so. But I think that with the stakes sort of ending at the moment, with the breaking up, this all breaking up. It's getting a lot of. We used to have big candles all across this thing. Used to be big candles last year and the year before, but you see it's all starting to break up now. So by the time you get into like April or so, maybe even further, April, yeah, definitely April, maybe March, April onwards, we're going to start seeing a lot less stake supply coming in, and then we'll see what happens to the circulating supply. We're obviously 2.1 billion of that's already gone into the sacrifice. I expect a bit more to go in there too. But yeah, it's just really going to open up. Once you start getting that demand on, if we get these billionaires on, we get the retailers demand on there, we're going to have Pulsechain with potentially millions of users coming in. You can see the game changes fast, very fast indeed. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be pretty interesting to see that play out. And some of those people with liquid Hex may say, hey, this is looking so good. Why would I sell down now anyway? And so you might actually get some of that liquid supply either restaking or just not selling, becoming inactive liquidity, as it were, enjoying a lot of the hexkins that have a lot of inactive hex liquidity. Obviously, some get sold off for a living, maybe buying a new car, potentially sometimes buying a house or a boat or something. But for the most cases, it's really starting to look thinned out. You can see it for yourself. This is the next 11 months, and man, it does not look like last year's candles. It's really starting to thin out. And even the ones that are rolling at the front that are doing short-term stakes, some of these big ones, they're going to start breaking up, and so they're going to be at different times as well. So we'll watch that pretty closely. It's going to be pretty fascinating. SKB says, are there big paydays on our PHEX stakes for Pulsechain? No, there's not, SKB. There's not. That was already done. It's already done. So SKB says, for our old stakes that qualify. No, SKB. SKB's just trolling me. SKB's trolling. Stop trolling me, SKB. So big shout out to SKB. SKB was the first Hex Token channel member on Hex Token. So big shout out to SKB. SKB loves trolling me. Pretty hilarious. And Brendan says, awesome, great insight. Hey, you're welcome there, Brendan. Very, very cool. So I'm trying to balance out the factors. As you know, I talk about different factors. And so hopefully that gives a good mix as well. So yeah. Hey, look, on that note, we're at 20 cents. Woo-hoo-hoo! We're at 20 cents again. That's pretty positive. Nice little green candle. And we're at the sacrifices at $1 billion. You can't be too much wrong. That's a very successful bullish indicator. That 1 billion is indicative. And of course, maybe the time, not investment advice, but maybe the time is running out. We don't know when the price is going to finish falling. Like I said, I think 18, 19 cents is kind of the next support level, the battle line as we call it. But maybe it's going to run out of time for people to pick up cheap Hex, at least on the ETH chain. Obviously, we're going to get Pulsechain, and of course, with the stakes slowly separating out, maybe less stakes coming out, and it's going to open road for the price of Hex to really rally. And of course, we'll get a stock split of the price, and we'll have two hexes, and probably Pulsechain will be at a premium in terms of value, and we will watch those two play out. But once again, we've got all the economic energy coming in like we didn't have before. We maybe have 75,000 stakers now, a couple 100,000 wallets now. Was it 300 or 410,000 wallets or something like that now? You can imagine that turning into 1.5 million, 700,000 stakers, 10x, over the next couple of years, like 2 years, and the price just off to the races. So it looks pretty good to me. All right, I think that's a pretty good note to finish on. Let's just wrap up some of these questions here. Time to dust off my moon boots. Awesome, another awesome show. Thanks, Superman. Hey, Brownie, you're most welcome. And Aspire says, member number 3. Hey, Aspire, you've been secretly listening. Hey, good to see Aspire. Aspire is a member. I think you are member number 3 too. So big shout out to Aspire in the house. And woohoo! Yeah. So I do appreciate all those Hex Token channel members. Big shout out to you. And thanks for your support. It's good to have number 1 and number 3 in the house. I'm trying to think it was number 2 now straight off the bat, but I'm going to have to go back and look at my list there as well, but that's pretty cool. Hey, to all subscribers, I do appreciate it. We're pretty much trying to climb now up to 3,000 subscribers on this channel, getting closer to 2,700. So if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe, like, share, hit the bell. And anyone that's watching this live stream afterwards, leave your comments. I will respond to them as well. So very, very cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm just going to sign off now. I don't have any poll, but I wish I did because I love polls. You know me. I love polls. Thanks for watching. I'm going to do a poll tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. Let me just wrap up here. I'm going to end up on the Pulse lead page because actually that's probably a good place to lead. End up there, and nice. Let's push that on. Aspire says, Aspire, thanks, mate. Keep up the great TA. Yeah, so I'm still going to do a big price prediction video. That's what's coming up as well. E-Type says, thanks, and yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Hex Mix is in the house. Awesome as usual. I appreciate that, Hex Mix, and the kind words are well appreciated. Let me just post some emojis. You know how I like to roll. And there's some of the emojis that the Hex Token channel members have. So very, very cool. I'm adding a new one to this, which is the PulseX one. So a new PulseX emoji coming for the Hex Token people. And a big shout out to, let's see, to Tefrin. I think it's Tefrin. No, let me look here. Who's made someone a new moderator? Just trying to think who that was. So a big shout out to new moderators there. Cool. All right. Oh, yeah, it was Tefrin. I'm pretty sure it was Tefrin that made a moderator. Cool. All right. Take care, all. See you guys tomorrow. Bye for now. Peace and love. All right.